Hello everybody, welcome back to Dave's Cheap Eats. Today we're going to do country fried chicken. This is a recipe that I learned to cook from my mom. When I was a little kid, we had this recipe a lot, and today I'm going to do it again. I've modified it a little bit over the years, but I got all the knowledge from my mom, so thank you, Mom. And it's been a while since I've made fried chicken, so let's give her a try. Let's go. So our ingredients are going to be garlic powder. You put as much seasoning on as you want. We're going to use some salt and pepper. There's the salt. You want to flip all your chicken over. We're going to repeat the process. And don't worry, folks, if you plan on staying clean in this video, you might want to think again. Put on an old shirt. Here's some more garlic powder. Some more salt. Some more pepper. Alright, so I double coat mine. I season it first, and then I roll it in flour. And I put it back on the plate for a second. I do the same process over and over again. It's very important that you season your chicken first and then coat it with flour, because it's going to hold your seasoning on there for to keep all the flavor in. And just so you know, we do the process twice, but the second time we roll it in the eggs because we're doing like an extra crispy chicken. So we're going to roll it in the egg. We're going to put more flour on top of it. Alrighty, that piece is ready to go. Just like to show you guys the process, because sometimes if you don't follow the process correctly, your chicken don't come out as good. I have a lot of practice at this recipe, because when you want to learn to cook good like your mother did, it takes a lot of practice. Oh, messing up my own practice here. That's what's good about doing cooking videos, is if you mess up, especially you don't get a retry at it. So this is live, not editable. That's what makes it real. Alrighty, that's all set. Okay everybody, we're over here at the stove. I got my grease heating up. It's just about at the right temperature. I got it set on 7. A key with cooking chicken is cooking it at a high temperature. You do not want your chicken to be cooked at too low of a temperature, but not too high of a temperature either. You want it to sear the coating on there so it's nice and crispy when you're doing it. That's the #1 key about doing fried chicken, is you do not want to do it too slow. Trust me, it took me a while to figure that out. And if you cook it too slow or too low of a heat, it's going to turn out kind of crappy. So trust me, cook it at about, you want it to be about 350, in that ballpark of an area. Okay, so we're going to get started. I think it's hot enough right now. Yep. We'll turn it up a little bit, because when you put the chicken in there, it's going to tone down the temperature. So you're going to have to pay attention here for a second. You don't want it to get too wild. And I use shortening in this pan. I don't like vegetable oil. Even though it's kind of a vegetable oil, it's a little bit different. Alrighty. Okay, so we already got our potatoes boiling. We're going to be having mashed potatoes. We're going to be having green beans and fried chicken. And I'm going to make my gravy last, which I could be making that right now, but the chicken and the gravy is what we're going to focus on in this video. And at the end, you're probably not going to believe how cheap this meal is for a family of 4. I'm kind of shocked myself after I added it up. This is so far going to be the cheapest Dave's Cheap Eats video I've brought to the kitchen. And I think you're going to be shocked to get this much food this cheap. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But right now we got the chicken cooking. These are cooking at a pretty decent temperature. Still needs to warm up a little bit. But when you put that much chicken in the pan, it's going to cool it down a little bit, but that's fine. Okay, everybody, it's been about 10 minutes. We haven't flipped the chicken yet. And about 10 minutes, we'll look at the bottom of it, which I'm doing right now. And I think it's ready to be flipped. I use a fork. If you're not handy with a fork, I suggest use a pair of tongs. You want your chicken to look like that. Nice and golden brown. And that one's even a little bit better looking because it's in the center of the pan. Reminds me of being a young boy at home smelling fried chicken. It always makes me feel like I'm a kid again. It's one of my favorite meals. Alrighty, we're going to pause the camera and we'll come back shortly. Okay, everybody, 10 minutes has passed, and I can't stress enough that you do not want to undercook your chicken. You do not eat raw chicken. So I'm going to flip my chicken again, and we're going to go from there. And I think it will be done here in short order, and we'll be back in a minute. Okay, welcome back. Didn't want to bore you guys with all the details and very long video, but it's been about 35-40 minutes and the chicken is done now. I tested a couple pieces and we are all good. I tested it by cutting it open and it is not pink or red in the middle. And now is another important step to the process. You want to take your chicken out, make sure you turn your burner off so it doesn't keep getting hotter on you. But this next process is a very important process because you want to salt and pepper your chicken before it starts getting cold. And they're extra crispy, as you can see. I couldn't even poke that one. Alrighty, I got it that time. Alrighty, so now we want to salt and pepper our chicken. Move my hand out of your way so you can see. But I'm not left-handed, so probably going to look funny now. And I'm just going to flip them over by hand. Maybe not, because they are hot. Guess I better learn to be tough here because this is a process that I believe needs to be done quickly. Trust me, I've cooked a lot of chicken, and this is important. This helps your seasoning stick right to it because the grease is still nice and hot. Alrighty, that step's done. I'm going to throw it in the oven and we're going to start the gravy next. Okay, step 2 to this process. Like I said, the chicken was an important thing to focus on. Now we're going to focus on the gravy. And this is an old style of doing it because I grew up in West Virginia, and back in the 80s, you learn to survive. And actually this is not bad at all. I'm using some chicken grease. What we're going to do is we're going to be making what you call pretty much a roux. You're making a gravy. And this is where you got to babysit it. You may have to add to it a little bit here and there. And you got to stir it so you do not burn your flour. If you burn your flour, you have to start over. You're basically browning the flour up. Using the chicken grease for some flavor because you got a lot of flavor in there from cooking the chicken. I'm going to add just a little bit more flour. Now this is an art. It takes some practice. You will sometimes fail and you'll have to start again. I mean, don't be embarrassed. I mean, I've had to start over again, and that's why I'm filming this, so you guys, I can pay attention to it and try to show you guys the right way, like I watched my mother when I was growing up. And this is a nice cheap way to make gravy if you don't have a lot of money to spend or you're on a tight budget. And all the ingredients are pretty much in your cupboard. All right, so that looks pretty good like that. You can see how it's kind of thickened up a little bit. Now we're going to want to try to brown the flour without burning it. And you can tell by looking on there, I got it on a nice little bit, about 3/4 heat there. I got it a little bit below 7, and you can tell it's starting to brown a little bit. I'm going to really keep an eye on it. Sometimes you might have to turn it down because it will cook fast. This is kind of a lost art with the new generation. So, but trust me, this is how our ancestors used to feed their families. And yep, you can tell it's starting to get that smell to it a little bit, which is not a bad thing. Sometimes I'm just lifting up the pan to kind of take some of the heat off of it. I don't want it to overcook it. Yep, it's getting that smell to it. Smells like the kitchen when I was a little kid. And trust me, there are probably a lot of ladies out there that could do this a lot better than me. So, considering I haven't made this in about a good 3 or 4 years, I think I'm doing pretty darn good. It was all those years of watching my mom, so I know what's going on already. And that's about as dark as I like mine. You just want to get it a nice golden brown. And then what I do is I dump a little water in there, and I use warm water. And then you dump a little bit at a time, and you gotta stir it up. You don't want to dump too much at one time because this is like a thickening agent. Here's what the roux does. You can always add a little bit more water if it gets too thick. You can see it's starting to thicken up a little bit. If it gets too thick, I'll pour some more water in there. Yep, it's getting a little bit too thick, too fast, so a little bit more water. You can always cook it down a little bit too. Now, if you happen to try this recipe, or you don't, or the gravy recipe here, or if you don't like the fact that I'm making it out of grease or whatever, you're more than welcome to make your gravy however you want, or go get your store-bought gravy. I'm pretty sure you can still keep the price down if you find good deals. But this is just one way to make something if you're on a tight budget, and I'm used to it. This is normal to me. It's not normal to some people, but you're more than welcome to go get your own gravy that you're accustomed to for your mashed potatoes in this meal. Because we do have, we made mashed potatoes and green beans kind of pretty much off camera for the most part, because we were focusing on, like I said, the chicken and the gravy. As you can see, it's thickening up just like gravy, because it is gravy. It's an old-fashioned style gravy. And then you're wondering where you get all your taste from. We're going to be putting some pepper in there. And if you're going to ask me how much, to taste. This is one thing that you do to taste. And you put salt in there. And trust me, your gravy will not taste good without salt in there. I tried making gravy without salt before to cut down on salt, and let me tell you, it did not taste good. So salt is a necessity in your homemade gravy. And the only way you're going to be able to tell if your gravy's turning out good is you're going to have to taste test it. And my lovely assistant is going to give me a spoon here in a second. It's the best thing about being the cook. You get to taste your own stuff. I'm going to turn the heat down a little bit. She needs more salt. It's one thing I did notice about making homemade gravy, or if you go even buy it store-bought, and it has a lot of salt in it. So if you, thing is, if you're on a low salt diet, you don't want to be eating a lot of gravy because it's high in gravy. So I say use in moderation. I'll taste test it again real quick here. Almost there. That's perfect right there. So what you just witnessed was something I learned a long time ago from my mother, and that is some of the best homemade gravy I think I've ever had, and it just reminds me of being a child again. So I thank my mom, and my family loves this too. So we're going to pause for a second. We're going to show you guys the final results. Okay, everybody, we're back with the final product. We got 7 pieces of chicken, some mashed potatoes, some gravy, some green beans. Total cost for this meal for my family was $5. Yeah, that's pretty cheap. You cannot go anywhere and get a meal with this much for $5. So that comes out to be $1.25 per person. Have a family of 4. If you can do cheaper than that, I would I'd be interested to see your video. But thanks for watching. If you like my video, please like and subscribe. And God bless. Have a good night.